Strawberries. Strawberries. Slim pickings is here. Little itty bitty, and they're kind of just drying up. They're not really doing much. Yeah, that's not good. Not the worst, but not good. And I'm not even looking these up. I've been looking up plants, and I love to nerd out and just geek out and research things on the interweb. Thank you, interweb, for being awesome and knowing all this stuff. Still, I'm just gonna talk about these a little and use that as an illustration that I can tell you, hey, this plant, it has these things, it does these things, it whatever. But no, no, I can't really. I can, but who's to say what is actually in this strawberry? I did not test this strawberry and get a chemical readout of that. I feel like strawberries are good, like heart stuff, right? Because they're bright red, and so it's gonna have those antioxidants of the bright red. And I feel like it's good for the heart, right? They look like little hearts, and a lot of times nature works like that. As Bailey Jane would love to remind everyone all the time. The carrots, they look like eyes. They're good for your eyes. The walnuts and the brain. Yeah. It's real interesting for the 1000th time, but it's true. So, yeah, I feel like they're good for the heart. But then these ones, that one's not good for much of anything. We haven't put much into it. These ones, let's check them out. Let's just showing these off in the mulch thing and give them a little bit. They're just crispity, crunchity, making the tiniest little strawberries. They're just drying up on the plant because the plants are drying out because they don't have the good mulch. And so when I say, hey, this is in this plant, you can't say that in general. We're so used to just get things on a store and what it says is what's in it. But what is in that particular batch? Where was it grown? How was it grown? This particular season, you know, even these strawberry plants last year would have had much better strawberries with way more, you know, vitamins, minerals, nutrients, antioxidants, all the good stuff, because they were getting fed. And they're not so much this year. Just dry and crinkly. All this, just gotta pull all this dead stuff off. I'm actually just gonna pull one of these out and show you too, because they get so thick. Just get into how the strawberry plants are. You wanna? Yeah. Thank you. Nope. Oh well, here's an interesting one too. Where they grow on shoots like this. You'll have like a mother plant, and it'll send out these shoots, and there will be little nodules. And it'll have 3 or 4 on each one, and they'll send out maybe, you know, for however many they send out, and each time they touch the ground, and each place they touch will be a new strawberry plant. So like these, you know, it's not even in the root, that's just, or not even in the ground, it's just floating, it's hoping to get in the ground. So some of those I'll move, and I'll transplant some of these. Notice they got these, I guess you'd call that trifoliate leaves. Getting a bit spotty and dried and crinkly, but they'll have these jagged edges, kind of like a dandelion, but little, yeah, 3-leaved, and they grow in these clumps. I'm gonna pull out one of these clumps in here and show you. Yeah, there you go, I think. It's It is nice to ask. Oh, I barely got that one, but even that. Show you they got these tiny little root systems. I pulled off a few, but even just one, that'll do it. You can transplant from that for sure. And spread them out, and you kind of gotta spread them out. We've given away who knows how many thousands, at least hundreds of strawberries. They just make like crazy when they're getting good food. There's just these little clumps, and when I'm transplanting it, I'm gonna pull off all these leaves. Maybe leave this one, maybe even just leave this little green bit, because I pulled off most of the roots, and you know, everything corresponds, as above so below. Everything feeding each other and interdependent on each other, so the less roots you have, and that's a pretty rough way to do it, but strawberries will do pretty good. You want to keep them in the shade, but you can just uproot them like this and take them, fill your friends' backyards, go to Seth and Kitty's or wherever, and just strawberries. It's great. They're pretty wonderful plants, and we've had kind of strawberry infestations for years. Very few this year. That's a pretty butterfly. Oh, nice. And hey, so these little, makes me think of the flowers. Let's check out the flower. Just grab one of these. Sorry, I just pulled one off. Gotta be gentle. It's got 4 petals. It would be 5 petals, which I guess it's got to be a rose, right? In the rose family, because they do that. Not exactly sure. It looks like it would be. Yeah, it seems like it would. Thank you. Thank you. Overall, pretty hardy little plant. It loves the acidic soil. Not everything's into it, but these ones, you give them the pine needles, they're all about it. And they love to grow by the pines wild. There's definitely wild. I'll show you some wild. But they're all over the mountains in Oregon that are a bit somewhere in between these cultivated and the full-on wild that we got. It's definitely one I'm sure people bred to be the way they are. They make pretty rockin' berries that you gotta chase, you know. You gotta race the earwigs and the little roly-polies and stuff for them, but man, they're just amazing when they're making. I love strawberries. Which we all know though, right? Everyone knows strawberries they're great. Except if you got stuff I can't do them, I got because of the staff and the sugar stuff. But they're pretty great food, but also these leaves. Do you know strawberry leaves are edible? So might as well, cheers. That's not bad. I haven't messed with that much. Some people like to use these for tea. They make a pretty good, like, mineralizing, alkalizing tea, and I feel like quite a few berries do that, like the blackberries and the strawberries and these grape leaves even. But there's something that happens in the process that they're not as good for you in the middle stage. You want to have them either fresh or you want to have them completely dried, but something about them when they're in the middle, when they're drying out, you don't want that apparently. I don't know what that's about entirely. Some chemical reaction that's happening, but so either completely fresh strawberry leaves or completely dried, apparently, is what I've read. Now I'm going walkabout a little. I'm gonna search. I'm gonna find wild strawberries because we got wild strawberries. They're definitely around. I'm gonna find one. I know there's one at least that I can show you. They're really, really tiny. Really, really tiny. And even, like, there's plants in here, but they're itty bitty. And it's hard to tell the difference in here, kind of. We got this ivy, and we got wild strawberries. I transplanted some in here. That looks like a little flower. Huh. It's just been mowed. Let's see, I'll find one. You just gotta call it in, wander around. They're pretty cool. They like to grow in the shade, the wild ones. And, you know, you'll find wild strawberries a lot up in the forest, up in the mountains, the pines and such. They love those pine needles and the acidic soil. It's totally their jam. I know we got a little one. I'm gonna find one somewhere. I just saw some the other day. But then the critters love them too, you know. Definitely other things eating them. I want to show you. They're pretty cool. They're probably a Mars plant, right? Because they're like little, like actually round, and they got these little red bumps on them, and they're pretty cool looking. They look like Mars. Whether they are in like alchemical astrology or not, I feel like they would be. They're not fiery, they're not heating. Just rambling while I search. Where are you, wild strawberry? Wanna show you off to everybody. We got some nice. Man, it's just how it is today, huh? Thank you. You see this little? Can you see this? Yeah, it's on this little vine. Same kind of thing where this is one of those little nodes. This one wasn't even in the ground. It's just getting fed by the mother. Like everything, right? Thank you. This one's itty bitty. It didn't form a good round ball, but you can see that's more like the size that they usually are. They're these tiny little things. That one doesn't. That one looks funky. I'm gonna find a good one. I think the birds are pretty into them, and especially when it's mowed, then they're more exposed. But it's pretty cool. These things. Oh, here's the little one. Yeah, thank you. There's a little tiny little ruby red, little gem of a planetoid looking thing. Let's get it in the sunshine. Thank you. Oh yeah, get that. Oh, get that nice red, like a sports car or lipstick or fruit, which apparently is why guys get so into that red and women like to wear the lipstick, and there's something that releases in your brain that from the ripe fruit thing, and it's like the same chemicals that release from cocaine just from seeing that color. Does it do it for you? Let's look at her to see it. It's a little bumpy little planetoid. Bright ruby red. I'm not really eating one. I'll make you one. Cheers. It's like almost bitter. It's just kind of planty, kind of a bland taste, and definitely not sweet like the cultivated, your whatever Driscoll's or good stuff or whatever. They use a lot of water. They do really like the water. You can tell those other ones are not getting the best sun in that spot. They love a lot of sun and a lot of water, and it's actually a pretty big drain, I think, on our water is like all those strawberries being grown in California. Just massive fields of them, and it takes a lot of water. These wild ones aren't nearly as tasty, but they do grow wild, which is pretty rockin', and in the shade, just on their own. Got them growing like weeds, and I like to spread them around and all that. Pretty good ground cover. But definitely those are gonna be a lot different chemically than the ones that we're cultivating. And these ones, like I'm saying, just you cannot say what's in a strawberry, the vitamins, the minerals, the whatever. What's in these strawberries, and year to year, last year would have been way different. And most years, this year they're having a rough go of it, and so I'm gonna feed them. One thing, if you're doing these and you're not too uptight about the super heady organic model, you can always go to your local Starbucks, and they save the coffee grounds. They're like required to give them to you or whatever, and they have them in bags, or if you just ask them about Grounds for Gardens. And I've done that a few years, where you just do that for some weeks. You drive around, and or some days or whatever, just get what you can, put it in here, and then a lot of times, every time, they thrive. They love it. They're absolutely all about it. And a lot of times my mother likes to comment when I mulch hers and when I feed them with the coffee grounds, that they're twice as big the next day, and they kind of are. I'll have to mulch these and feed these, and then show you. Maybe I'll take a picture or something, and maybe you'll see that, because maybe I'll publish this someday. Put it all together. They're all about the coffee grounds, so we're gonna give it to them. And the pine bark, or not the bark, the needles, because they're all about that, and we got it, so use what you got. So that about does it, right? Strawberries, wrapped it on up. Cool. Thank you.